Coming up on this edition of Outlook TV, the International Day of Pink.
JP talks to him.
Angus checks out the rub-out party. And much, much more. Hello and welcome to Outlook TV. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
And I'm Robert Mackay, and we're the Queer Magazine news show that bring you the stories that matter the most from coast to coast.
We're going to start off in Vancouver at the Diva Plaza.
That's right, we're going to look at the proposals to see how much more fabulous that plaza can get.
You can sort of come out to friends and you can come out to family, but when you march in a parade, you come out to the entire world. And it is a different experience, and it's unique, empowering and absolutely wonderful experience.
We're at Vancouver City Hall to talk to Councillor Tim Stevenson about the upcoming Diva Plaza project. Who was Jim Diva?
Well, he was larger than life in many ways. He came to BC and to Vancouver from Alberta. After a time, he set up this bookstore with others called Little Sisters, and it became the focal point over time for the gay community. And he became very, very involved in all aspects of the gay community. And Little Sisters became a very pivotal place, really important for the community. He and I used to have many discussions. Usually we saw eye to eye. Now and again we had some tense discussions, but I really miss him. Almost immediately after his death, people were looking for a tangible way to remember Jim, so that his legacy wouldn't be forgotten. We decided that we would have a plaza right at Butte and Davie, just down from Little Sisters, where the rainbow sidewalks are at the present time, and make that into really something significant. So the city came forward and has put $2.3 million for the first phase of this. All of the parties were in agreement, and it was a unanimous vote because everyone knows what Jim did in this city and are appreciative of it.
Jim's legacy as a businessman was one that he knew how to get things done. He was sharp. He was community minded, and so we wanted to bring that spirit and energy to the Butte Plaza. And we thought, well, name it after Jim, and I think it's going to carry a lot of weight and a lot of good feeling.
There's talk of a contract position for someone to sort of manage and develop the area on an ongoing basis.
We thought very strongly that you need a catalyst in the space. You need somebody there that can bring people together, that help community members or businesses or others who have an idea, they want to do something in the space, somebody to connect that energy and idea to the businesses, to the city's process for getting a permit for the space. And to make sure that there's marketing, there's programming, there's whether it's banners or social media or other kinds of things that help to promote what's happening in the space.
When will the plaza open?
City is working very hard under time constraints to be ready for Pride weekend. So that's our goal, and we should have in fact, that whole week should be just a wonderful celebration of various launch events where we try different things in the plaza. And so Pride week is going to be a great week to be in Diva Plaza.
Now we're going to go to part 2 of a series of Talk to Him,
where JP brings us condoms.
The Health Initiative for Men, or HIM, is based in downtown Vancouver. They provide health services for men ranging from sexual, emotional and mental health. Today we're talking to him about condoms.
Condoms are a tricky and a little bit problematic topic for a lot of the gay community. A lot of the gay community feels like they might have a hard time negotiating condom use. A lot of the gay community may have periods of their life in which they don't consistently use condoms. And a lot of the gay community might have questions about condoms that they might be afraid to ask, including with possible partners. So what we try to do is demystify and offer a lot of education and support for men to have the tools and resources to consistently and correctly use condoms every time that they might need to do so. One good thing to start with is to call a local sexual health resource center and get a really good, clear picture of what condoms can do to protect you and activities that condoms won't necessarily protect you, and to start there. So obviously not a lot of individuals, if any, are going to use condoms for oral sex. So that's, something that we wouldn't necessarily say this is an appropriate activity for condom usage, although that's up to the individual. So find out from your local sexual health resource center what activities you should be considering for condom use. Also talk to your sexual health resource center about whether or not you're using condoms correctly. What we know is that part of the reasons why condoms have the effectiveness profile that they do in most major studies is because a lot of men don't use condoms consistently or correctly. So if you're not using a condom that's the right size, if you're not using the right kind of lube or enough lube, that could predispose the condom to breakage or leakage, and all of those things could impact STI transmission or HIV transmission. One thing that we've heard from guys is that it can be hard or awkward to introduce a condom in the middle of a sex act. We know that condom negotiation can be tricky because typically they may not be introduced until that really passionate moment in which intercourse is about to take place. So again, think about introducing a condom sooner rather than later when you're with a partner. And one thing that we've heard that could be a good strategy for a lot of guys is just take a condom out, put it on the bedside table for everybody to see, and let it known before any of the activity starts that your expectation is at some point the condom's going to get unwrapped, put on, and used consistently and correctly.
For more information on this topic and many more, you can check it all out at the HIM website. I'm John Paul Payne in Vancouver for Outlook TV.
We're going to have to take a little break now.
That's right, I'm going to have a little chat with JP.
Ooh, you going to get some condoms?
Yeah, the right size this time.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
And up next, we have Fred's Gay Agenda.
As Canadians, we can all be proud of the equal rights that the LGBTQ community have. But there's still one glaring spot where we face discrimination, being a blood and organ donor. When I was in university, I got a pin from the Canadian Red Cross for donating blood over 10 times. And I felt proud that I was doing my part to save lives. I even signed an organ donor card so somebody could use my organs to have a second chance at life. But all of that ended with a Red Cross tainted blood scandals in the 1980s. Over 30,000 innocent people from Canada and around the world who went to the hospital became infected with HIV because of the Canadian Red Cross and their lack of proper screening of blood. When AIDS was first realized to be spreading in 1982, the Canadian Red Cross took 3 years before they dealt with the crisis. And after a long and expensive national inquiry, the Canadian Red Cross lost control of the blood donations, and it was taken over by the Canadian Blood Services. In 1992, part of the inquiry's recommendation was that men who have sex with men were banned for life for donating blood or organs. In 2013, Health Canada reduced the deferral period from never to 5 years. And they expect a gay man not to have sex for 5 years? Not even priests can do that. AIDS agencies have been arguing for years that gays should not be screened out because of their sexual orientation, but people should be screened out because of their behavior. But screening out people because of their behavior is not enough. If the Canadian Blood Services ask a few questions for screening, of course people lie, and they might even be a victim of a lie. A straight woman whose husband might have slept with a prostitute, male or female, might unknowingly become infected by his little dirty weekend. Or a male might be sleeping with an IV drug user and not even know it. People lie all the time, especially when being asked questions, very personal questions in a public place like a clinic. But you know one thing that doesn't lie? A blood test. All donors who want to donate blood or organs should be given the rapid AIDS test. It takes 60 seconds and the results are known within 15 minutes. This way we won't have to worry about if the donor's lying or not. The blood test will tell the truth, and we will have a 100% secure blood system. The Canadian Blood Services has set up a rainbow clinic where gay men can donate their blood for research. Research is important, but people's lives are even more so. With this way, we'll have a 100% safe system, and if all donors take this HIV rapid test, then we will know. The Trudeau government's election campaign promise was to end donation discrimination in 2016, but we still haven't seen any movement on it yet. We are still waiting, just like the people who are waiting for blood and organs. For the Gay Agenda, I'm Fred Camperman.
Up next, we head to Toronto with Brandon.
That's right, we have a taste of high society gay with an art show called Outsiders.
Hi, we're here at the Art Gallery of Ontario today to check out a new collection called The Outsiders. And we're speaking to one of the co-curators of the exhibit, Sophie Hackett. Hi, Sophie, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. So can you tell us about the exhibit?
Sure. Well, the show is called Outsiders, American Photography and Film from the 1950s to the 1980s, and it looks at a range of photographers and filmmakers who are bringing us new visions, new subjects really to light in new ways during these decades after the Second World War. So as part of the show, we are showing 170 snapshots from what we call the Casa Susanna collection. Casa Susanna was a resort for cross-dressers in upstate New York from the mid-50s into the late 60s, so really pre-Stonewall, and they feature really friends getting together, dressing en femme for the weekend. It was a safe place for them to go, and you can see that they're having a wonderful time, sort of, in their outfits, trying on clothes, spending time sort of together in that way. We get Scrabble games, we get their performances, we get them eating dinner. They're classic snapshots in that sense.
Do you think that these groups had a support for one another, or do you think they're pretty much disconnected at the time?
Well, I think when they came together at Casa Susanna, that was their support. I should say, actually, many of them didn't live on the margins. Many of the men involved had high-powered jobs, so they were married, they had families. So, in fact, it was a matter of some risk that they took to come to the resort to meet other cross-dressers. People would have found out about it by word of mouth, primarily. You can't find it on YouTube, you can't find it via the internet. It didn't exist.
So today, who do you think the outsiders are?
That's a good question. I think, there are always outsiders in any moment. The communities that are having clearly having a tough time, the socioeconomically disadvantaged, and also, we've had a lot of tough conversations around racialized communities these days as well with organizations like Black Lives Matter. I think those are, we're having tough and real and good, necessary conversations, hopefully that'll bring change.
What photograph in the collection do you think is most relevant to you?
There's so many wonderful ones, so I hope that your viewers get a chance to come down and see, but let's go take a look. There's one over here. So in this photograph, we see an individual who, her name was Beverly, and Beverly is holding, she's wearing a wonderful kind of shirt dress, black pumps, a very kind of simple day dress. She's holding a copy of Vogue magazine, and that's part of what I love about this picture, is that you can really see who they're not only looking at each other for how to dress and how to kind of pose and how to convey a feminine self, they're also looking at fashion magazines, at movie magazines, and you can see how she's standing with kind of one foot sort of in front of the other. It's not quite a coquettish pose, but she's very clearly aware of being photographed.
If you're in Toronto, please come by and check out The Outsiders, which is showing here until May 29th. This is Brandon Bent for Outlook TV.
Up next, Gary takes us to the International Day of Pink.
That's right, the youth of Vancouver gathered at the VPL for a special event.
We're at the Vancouver Public Library to mark the International Day of Pink, a youth forum for ages 13 to 25, their families and school staff associated with GSAs.
The Day of Pink, in our instance, is a celebration of all of the LGBTQ youth in the city as well as in the world. And what we're really aiming to do is spread awareness about the issue and also a celebratory attitude so that everyone knows just how positive this day is.
I am participating in the Day of Pink, especially this year, because it's my last year of high school and I really wanted to do my best to create a more positive atmosphere in our city and in our schools to do with LGBT youth.
1 in 3 transgender people will attempt suicide by the age of 20.
One of the important things about the Day of Pink is really that mixture of raising awareness around the violence and harassment that queer and trans youth still face, even in a city like Vancouver, but combined with sort of what we're trying to do, which is a celebration, right, of all the great things and the joy that comes from being queer and trans, because being a queer and trans youth is not all sad and complicated. It's also a lot of excitement, a lot of joy, a lot of great, wonderful things.
Joey, have you experienced bullying?
It was really bad during my grade 10 year because that's kind of like the middle stage in high school. People are really out of their shells. They're not as scared to do anything. So it was really difficult during that year, but it's been getting better lately. Our GSA had a lot of momentum this year. We had multiple events, so it's kind of been raising a lot of awareness in our school.
We're fighting hard to end homophobia, transphobia, making sure equality and opportunity is what it's all about. Inclusivity is super important in Vancouver.
If you want things to be fair for people, if you want everyone to be able to live happy lives, to be able to do the things that they want to do, just reach out to like your city, your schools, your communities, let them know that you want to, be part of something and ask them to get involved, and, hopefully people will say yes more and more often.
This is a day where everyone should just feel proud of who they are. This is really a day to celebrate, and I think everyone should take part in it.
My suggestions to the youth of this city are to get involved with the LGBTQ movement. If you don't have a GSA in your school, feel free to start one. It's not as scary as it seems. Or if you already do have one, participate.
From the Vancouver Public Library, this is Gary Wolfader for Outlook TV.
It's time for us to take another little break now.
But stay tuned.
We'll be back. Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
And we've got the Daily Extra with Robin in Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Robin Perel, and I'm the managing editor in Vancouver of dailyextra.com, Canada's gay and lesbian news source. Here are some of the stories we've been following in the last few weeks. Rob Ford's death sparked an outpouring of grief in some sectors of Toronto, while many members of the queer community remembered the homophobic highlights of his legacy. Daily Extra reporter Archie Mann compiled the top 10 ways Toronto's former mayor demonstrated his disdain for the LGBT community. Here's a taste. 1. Ford never attended a pride parade. For years, he blamed his Canada Day cottage and family time schedule. Then finally, in 2014, he admitted he just didn't want to go and wasn't planning to change. 2. Ford voted against a proposal to allocate beds for queer and trans youth in Toronto's homeless shelters. Luckily, 37 councillors outvoted him, and now there's a queer youth shelter in Toronto. 3. Ford voted against funding HIV prevention and screening programs. And he repeatedly squawked at raising the pride flag. And he referred to now Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as a fag in the infamous crack video. And the list goes on. For the full list and all our Rob Ford coverage, go to dailyextra.com. In local Vancouver news, the Dyke March and Festival will live to march and celebrate another year, thanks to several community members who stepped up to join the dwindling board. Organizers of the Dyke March put out an urgent call for help a few weeks ago, as the board was in danger of shrinking to just one person at its annual general meeting April 9th. Several community members heeded the call and filled 5 of the board's 7 seats at the meeting. Despite the Dyke March and Festival's popularity, organizers have repeatedly struggled to attract enough board members to keep the event alive in the last few years. Recruiting more volunteers and reducing director burnout would be an important step towards sustainability, they say. Up in Prince George, BC, queer students at the University of Northern British Columbia are calling it a win after months of lobbying have finally paid off. The students convinced administrators to fund their Pride Centre for the next 2 years. Crystal Vandenberg, who heads the student-run centre, calls the funding a step in the right direction and says it will help stabilize a much-needed resource on campus. UNBC already funds other campus groups like the Women's Centre and the First Nations Centre. For more on both these stories, go to dailyextra.com. Back in Vancouver, the Odyssey nightclub publicly apologized to everyone in the gay community that have been hurt, burdened, singled out, or negatively affected by the events of the past. The Odyssey made headlines last November after it sent private investigators to a rival queer party, then released the investigators' report, including secretly shot video footage of people allegedly having sex in a queer space, to mainstream media. News of the investigation sparked outrage in the community. Former Odyssey co-owner Bijan Ahmadian announced his decision to leave the club last month. As part of their apology, the Odyssey's new managers will host a fundraiser called Makeup Sex and give all the cover charges to VAL, Vancouver's Art and Leisure Society, who hosted the party that got investigated. Matt Troy, the director of VAL, says he accepts the Odyssey's apology, but has a few questions and concerns. For more on Troy's reaction, read the full story on dailyextra.com. And for much more local, national, and international news, go to dailyextra.com or check our Facebook and Twitter feeds. For Daily Extra, in Vancouver, I'm Robin Farrell for Outlook TV.
Up next, we send Angus to the Rub Out party.
Grab your lubricants and get ready to shine. Let's see what it's all about.
We're here at the Pump Jack Pub in Vancouver for a special event, Rub Out 25. Let's check out the action.
We're going to try and bring all the communities together tonight for this Under the Big Top Circus Night. So we have about 12 different communities coming together to help us put on this big circus. We'll have a lot of performers. We have giant Jenga, we have giant Kerplunk, we have a balloon man. If you pop the balloon, you raise money for Rub Out for the next 25 years. Vancouver Men in Leather will be here. We have Van Paul. They'll be putting on a puppy mosh on Saturday. Plus, there's a lot of communities from out of town coming, like the Rainy City Rubbermen from Seattle, San Francisco Rubbermen, but we also want to bring in the straight communities too. So we have like Sin City and Perv and many of those coming tonight as well.
The first events were held in Maple Ridge for an overnight party. That's how we started it. Basically, I put a meet and greet on the Friday and a brunch on the Sunday. That's how the weekend started. I didn't charge, so for the first 12 years it was free. I had people coming in even though I didn't know they were coming in, so I get all these perks of people I didn't know from Europe and overseas showing up for the weekend. It was really cool. It was one of the best things about it.
This is actually my second time in Vancouver. I've been to the city before. I love the city, but it's really great to be able to come here and support such an awesome fetish event, and I'm really excited to be a part of Rub Out 25.
Because it's 25th anniversary, we're doing a lot of full invite parties this year. We usually just do men only for a lot of the weekend, but this year, tonight and tomorrow, for the men and women.
I went to my first Rub Out. It was Rub Out number 3. I wandered into it by accident of all things. It was back when I was still telling myself, oh, I'm completely straight. I just go to the Shaggy Horse on occasion. I happened to wander in there on Rubber Night and really have never looked back. I haven't made it to everyone since then, but I try to make it to most, and it's been a big part of what shaped my kink life.
It's a kickoff party, so it's the first of 12 events for the weekend. So luckily we have a full circus going on with performances, a balloon guy, we have a little tiny midway, and body painting.
Rubber is quite a tactile material, and the more you touch, the more dull it gets. So we have 3 rubber boys this evening that are going around and helping people. So I'm kind of going around spotting people that were looking a little dull and that need a little bit of attention.
From Rub Out 25, this is Angus Pratt for Outlook TV.
That is all the time we have for this edition of Outlook TV, but you know, we're going to be back.
We will be. And don't forget about us. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and shoot us an email if you'd like to join us and volunteer at Outlook.
We do have an awful lot of fun here.
We do.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
And I'm Robert Mackay. Stay fabulous, Canada.